There was this kid I knew in high school, let's just call him Daniel just for the sake of kind of keeping it confidential. He was pretty much at the top of his class, 4.0 GPA, 5 APs, pretty much every single year whenever he could take it, varsity athlete, NHS president, and 200 plus volunteer hours. And he's the type of student where most people would call a shoe-in for top schools. Because he did everything his counselor told him to do, play a sport, be a leader, volunteer in your free time, keep your grades up, all that stuff. But then April rolls around, then Stanford rejected, Northwestern rejected, UCLA waitlisted, and he was equally as shocked as everyone around him. Even his parents were confused, and I'll never forget what he said to me after. He said, I don't get it. I thought I did everything right. And I would agree. A lot of the things he's done well, and according to the generic outdated advice, everyone gets fed, he did it right. But the part that he didn't understand was positioning. And so I'm gonna break down what that actually means, why so many smart, talented students are setting themselves up to fail, and how you're gonna flip the script before it's way too late. So let's just get into it without wasting any more of your time. This is one of the first things I teach my students at Inspirate Consulting, and most of them have never heard it before. You're not being evaluated in a vacuum. College admissions is relative in nature, relative to your school, relative to your zip code, relative to the resources that are available to you. So let's say you go to a high school where most students are taking a few APs, doing Key Club, NHS, and volunteering at the same hospital, and you end up doing the exact same thing. Guess what that makes you as an applicant? Just another version of the average student at that school. So if your goal is to blend in, you're doing it, and you're doing a really good job at it. But if you're watching this and aiming for a school where less than 10% of applicants get in, that sort of mindset is a one-way ticket to rejection. Because you need to ask yourself, okay, what does everyone else around me do? And how do I do something different and better at it? Because when colleges read your file, they're reading it in context. Because if you can't even stand up from where you're from, you're definitely not standing out in the national pool. My second point is about the GPA and the reality behind the GPA, because if you're aiming for schools like MIT, Stanford, or the Ivies, you need to understand something, right? Perfect or near perfect GPAs are a given at these universities. They're not impressive, they're expected. And I see this question all the time, especially in the Discord, which you can join with the link in the description. I have a 3.75 unweighted GPA. Can I still get into my dream school of MIT or Stanford or whatever, right? And I hate being that dream crusher, but someone has to say it. And a lot of people are gonna just say there and be like, hey, if you work with us, hey, I can definitely get you into that top school, like no matter what GPA you have. But that's just not the case. Statistically, just not the case. Why would a school like MIT gamble on a 3.75 GPA student when they have an ocean of 4.0s who've also built research projects, published papers, and launched nonprofit? That's just the reality of who you're competing against. Now, this does not mean your life is over, okay? Absolutely not. This is just the very beginning of your professional career. So if you're gonna be successful, and I mean really successful, or whatever you want to define that as, you're going to make the most of whatever school you go to. You're going to show up, build something meaningful, meet people, take risks, and use that platform to create real momentum. It doesn't have anything to do with the rankings of the schools or what placement they got in recent competitions, but it has everything to do with how you show up and what you do with what you've got. Now, point 3 is about being a breath of fresh air. Now, let me kind of lay this out for you. So picture this. Last year, over 250,000 students applied to the UC system. That's 250,000 applications. Now imagine you're an admissions officer reading application number, 2,314. And what you see in front of you is captain of a sport, volunteered at a food bank, member of a few clubs, maybe wrote an essay about hard work or community service. Then you turn the page and it's the same thing again and again and again. And that's the part no one talks about, how suffocating it is to read the same story 1,000 times in a row. They're playing the same playbook for extracurriculars as well. Join a sport, it shows teamwork. Volunteer, it shows you care. Run for office, it shows leadership. It's all technically good advice. It's not inherently negative or bad, but when everyone does the same thing, no one stands out. So that's why I say you need to be the breath of fresh air for them. The one file they actually remember. And the best way to do that, instead of checking boxes as if it's like this laundry list, right? Or like this grocery list that you're going through, start building real extracurriculars. Projects that are creative, impactful, and personal. And personal is a big emphasis that I want to put on there. Now, point number 4 is to build vertically, not horizontally. So the part where most students mess up is when they start doing 20 small things instead of going big on a few things that matter. It's like they're trying to build, right? Let's say, for example, 2 different types of builders, right? One of them, instead of taking taking the time to sharpen up their skills, they just go out there and start building as many wooden sheds as possible. Let's say, for example, he makes 100 wooden sheds. But you see the other builder where he took the time to build up his skills to then expand on the projects that he could work on, and he built one 100-story skyscraper. Let me say that again. You don't get noticed by stacking more of the same. You get noticed by going deep, and that takes a lot of time. It takes skill and it takes a lot of planning as well. There's a quote from the GOAT Abraham Lincoln. He says, "Give me 6 hours to chop down a tree, and I will spend the first 4 sharpening the axe." And that's what most high school students don't do. They just jump straight away into random clubs, sign up for competitions they're not ready for, and copy someone else's project because they saw it on Reddit that it worked, right? But then at the end of the process, they wonder why it doesn't make an impact. No, like they got it all wrong. You use freshman and sophomore year or whenever you're starting to sharpen the axe. You learn to code. You get good at writing. You get good at communication. You get good at leadership. You learn how to think. So by junior year or whatever year you start to build things, when it's that time to strike, you get to build something big. The student who spent 2 years mastering the skill is going to run circle after circle after circle around the student who's just doing stuff for the sake of doing stuff. Like I said, depth beats breadth every single time. So let me wrap up all this stuff with one simple truth. Most students don't get rejected because they're lazy. They get rejected because they were strategic in the wrong direction. They worked hard, they followed the advice, and they chased resume lines instead of clarity of their entire application. And when decisions ultimately come out, they're shocked, right? Because they did put in all that hard work. I'm not saying that they're lazy. They never once asked themselves, what would make me different as an applicant from everyone else with the same stats? And that's what positioning is all about. It's not just about doing more. It's also about being remembered for the things you do and the impact that you have. So if your app doesn't leave a lasting impression, then all your hard work just gets lost in the pile. And this is exactly what we do in our consulting program. We help you figure out what your positioning actually is and then build your entire application strategy around it. No generic fluff, no copy-paste advice, because we build your strategy for your goals with the experience you have, the interest you have, and the passion you have. So if that's the kind of help you want, book a free discovery call below with the first link in the description. But even if you're not ready for that, that's why we built this entire channel, so you can learn all the things that I kind of talked about with my students as well through all these videos. And if this video opened your eyes even just a little bit, the next one is going to hit even harder, because once you understand this positioning thing that I just talked about, the very next question is, okay, so what kind of extracurriculars actually stand out? And I promise you, it's not what most students are doing. So in my next video right here, you'll be able to see me break down exactly why most activities fall flat and seem boring, what colleges are actually hoping to see, and how to craft these extracurriculars that actually mean something. So click here and I'll see you there. Peace.